Hello and welcome to the CAM environment and manufacturing setup portion of our CAM trial videos. In this video we will cover the basics of the CAM environment by showing you how to navigate through the different areas inside the CAM application and also show you how to set up a manufacturing file. In the last video we created an assembly file with our assembled components. Now we're going to use those components to set up our manufacturing file. Before we do that, let's walk through how the example file is set up. So if we take a look at the example file, you'll see that we have an MCS defined in the geometry view of the operation navigator. If we double click that, let's take a look at this, and you'll see the manufacturing coordinate system that is defined. You'll also see a safety clearance plane that is defined that all of the toolpath operations will inherit. Underneath the MCS mill, we have our workpiece that all of our toolpath operations are tied to. And if we go inside of this workpiece, you'll see that our part is specified, as well as the stock. So NX will use this information to know what material to remove, as well as what to drive toolpath to. Alright, now let's go back to the assembly file that we created, and I'll show you how to set this up similar to the example file. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is actually just go into the CAM application. So if you come up to the application tab, you can hit manufacturing. It's going to bring up a dialog box here. I'm just going to set this to CAM general and just leave this at planar mill. It really doesn't matter what this is set at down here. Click OK. And that's going to bring us into the manufacturing application here, and you'll notice that the tabs have changed a little bit. Under home now you have some manufacturing commands here, and you also have your operation navigator. So let's set this over to geometry view now, and you'll see your MCS. Open up our MCS here, and we will define our machining coordinate system by clicking the dialog box here, and let's go with XY origin. So let's select the origin point, select the center of this hole in the vise here. So let me move this down. We need to make sure that our filters are set to entire assembly, since all of our models are assembled in. And now that will allow us to select the center point here, and I want the X direction to follow that surface, and we'll just make sure Z is pointing straight up. Click OK. So now our manufacturing coordinate system is set, and we can set a clearance plane. With a part like this, it's set up in a vise where you're working all the way around the part. Your clearance planes are going to move all the time. So I'm not going to set clearance plane for this particular part, but if I were, this is where you would do it. Come here, just select a plane, and you could select the plane here. It's going to tell you that it wants to wavelength that surface in so that it can use it. It's going to be pulling it from the assembly into the main part file here, and that's fine. And then you would just give it a distance that you want to use for your safety clearance. Set this to none and select OK. So now you'll see our manufacturing coordinate system is represented, and then we'll select the workpiece here and go ahead and select our part. Select OK, and select our blank. Select OK. So you'll notice that there is a MCS main and an MCS local that came in when we set up our manufacturing file here. That's mainly used for on-machine probing circumstances when you will want to have a coordinate system set up at the machine home base, as well as one for your manufacturing home base. We're not going to be doing any on-machine probing, so I'm just going to delete this for this example. And that's really all there is to setting up your manufacturing file. Alright, so real quick before we wrap up this video, let's go back to the example file and we'll just kind of walk through the CAM environment and just get a little more familiar with it. So our toolbars up here, like I mentioned, have changed, and Home has the majority of your manufacturing functions. Create tools, create geometry, create operations. This will AI predictive algorithms that will predict what operations it thinks you need. Those will show up here. And then also have some display and toolpath animation options, and we will get into more of that in a later video, but it will basically just kind of simulate the removal of material. Your file, or sorry, your analysis, application, display, selection, all these are pretty much the same as what we went through in the previous video. The only other addition really is machine, and this is where you can bring in specific machines to fully simulate G-code simulation on your toolpath operations. So coming back over to our operation navigator, we've already gone through the geometry taking a look at our program order view. So this is where you're going to spend a lot of time. So we're going to be creating all of your toolpath operations. And it can be organized with the use of these folders. Some people like to, have every operation for that particular stage underneath one folder. And you can see the tool changes here. There's a lot of information in this window here that you can scroll through and look at. It'll show you the tool number, the cycle time for each operation, or the entire group of operations. And then also this is your length of that specific toolpath or operation group. And there's other things in here that you can look at. I'll show you the stock, floor stock, depth of cut, a lot of things that you can just kind of see in an overall high-level view. So a lot of useful information in here. You can customize this however you like by right-clicking on the bar up here and going to column configuration and coming down to configure columns. So from here you can, if you want to see, your tool, your tool change up a little closer, you can drag that up and down, and that will adjust this view in the window over here. So if we go back, talk about these folders real quick again. If you want to add a new folder, you can right click, insert program, or up here in the ribbon bar, create program button is up here as well. And you can tell it where you want that to reside. I want to make it a subfolder of the 1, 2, 3, 4 folder here, or I'm just going to, in this case, I'm just going to create an entirely new program separate from the 1, 2, 3, 4 inside of the NC program. And hit OK. Hit OK again, and now you will see I've got a new folder here. If you want to name it, you can just click on it and say you didn't get the correct name that you wanted when you created it. You can easily edit that name to whatever you want. And you can also drag and drop operations into folders and organize. You can organize your program order view just as much as you want. So quickly going over to the machine tool view. This is where you're going to keep all of your tools that you created to create your program. So those can be organized in carriers, machine carriers, and pockets for each tool, much like it would with the machine. Or you can just have a whole list of tools in here without the carrier and pockets. It's really up to the user and how they want to organize it. And we'll get more into the machine tool view in the next video. And then the last one that we haven't looked at yet is the machine method view. So using methods, you can set specific attributes that will be inherited by the operations that are tied to it. So you could set your part stock to 1/8 of an inch if you're wanting to set a roughing method, and every operation that is tied to this method will now be set to 1/8 of an inch on this part stock. You can set global tolerances. You can even set your feed rates to be specific for different methods, and every operation that's tied to it will inherit those feed rates as well. So now if you already have toolpath created and you want to change toolpath based on specific methods that you've created, you can drag and drop that toolpath into the specific method, and you'll notice that the symbol here is changed to a Ghostbuster symbol, which means it needs to be regenerated. And then once that's regenerated, it will take on the attributes that were applied with the method. So you can right click and hit generate, and that's going to regenerate that toolpath and adjust it based on the attributes that were set in the method. So this concludes our video, and I hope that you feel a little more comfortable with the CAM environment, and also being able to set up your own CAM geometry with your own part files.